Alex Alexander here. Decided to record a video to demonstrate how to fix Tungsten Replicator problem, or more correctly, how to diagnose to figure out what's going on with the Tungsten Replicator. So for those of you who are using Tungsten Enterprise Suite for high availability, and you're also using a Tungsten Replicator, as you probably know, that's a solution made by Continuant. So you might run into this type of scenarios, and this type of scenario is when basically you're replicating the data from master to slave databases, and then somehow you have a replication error, so you have to diagnose and figure out what's going on with that. The similar scenarios you always run into in MySQL traditional replication also, so it happens there. So you need to basically diagnose, in MySQL world, what you would do is show slave status and so forth. In Tungsten world, because you're not using MySQL replication, that's not going to work. So what you actually have to do, use the MySQL Tungsten tools to diagnose and figure out what's going on with the replication. So if you take a look at this is my typical Tungsten configuration. So you can see I have 3 Tungsten connectors, SQL routers, and I have 3 data sources. So this is my master database online, and this is DB02, my slave database, and DB03 slave database. So I have one master database, and I have 2 slave databases. And if you look at this, master status is online, and it shows you progress. And the progress is similar to in MySQL in show slave status would be the position. Because you have the bin log and you have the position, in Tungsten you have the progress, which basically indicates where the Tungsten replicator, which position it's located in, so in the master database. So master database online. Now, if you look at the slave database here, so DB02, you could see the replicator is shunned for recovery. That means obviously you run into some kind of error. And if you see here, you also see on another slave, on the second slave, on DB03, you see progress -1. So both of those indicate that basically there's some kind of transaction that broke the Tungsten replicator. So what you have to do basically is at this point go to those nodes here, DB02 and DB03, to figure out what's going on with the replication. So with that, I'm going to exit from the Tungsten. And so if you see, I'm on node 1 right now. So if I go trep ctl status, so everything is working here fine because I'm on a master database. So the master database is working fine, everything is processing. So the problem is on 2 slave databases. So with this, I have to basically move to one of the slave databases, which is DB02. And from here, I can do trep. Actually, let me clear the screen so it's more visible. So trep ctl status. Oh, sorry. I have to be Tungsten to do it. So you have to be Tungsten. I mean, essentially, you don't have to be Tungsten to execute this command, but Tungsten user has all of those commands set in path. So you do trep ctl status. So you see, this is on the slave right now. When you do trep ctl status, it'll show you that the various error, and what it tells you, you see event application failed. That's the sequence number. And what you actually have, you have duplicate key, duplicate entry for key primary. So obviously what's going on here, there is a transaction came from the master database to the slave database that broke the replication with duplicate key, duplicate primary key. There you go. So at this phase, we're not going to discuss how this happened, but the reality is this is how it happened. So it did happen. So we have to look at what's going on underneath. And you can do replicator status. You see replicator is running, but it stopped with the transaction. So what you could do is basically, you might want to look up at this specific transaction, see what kind of insert statement it is, and you can use THL utility to do this. So you can do clear the screen quickly. You do thl list low, and let's look up the transaction number at this phase. So that's the sequence number. Low. So when you enter those, it'll basically produce this transaction, what Tungsten Replicator is trying to do. See, there you go. So we can take a look. You see with low high directory for replicated logs, and so it's going to be. And let's keep looking and looking at the actual statement, but you can see what Tungsten tries to do at this phase, Tungsten Replicator. And at this point, you can actually look at the table and decide how would you like to proceed with this transaction. You can skip the transaction, or you can fix some errors in the actual database, and then you can restart the replicator basically and continue on. But that's basically what indicates you what was the issue with the Tungsten Replicator. So there's two tools. Once again, trep ctl status produces you what actually happened. And the second utility is thl. There you go. Will actually print out what the replicator is trying to do.